Well, bubbles are the first visible sign of fermentation, and in fact, the word fermentation stems from Latin fervere, which means to boil, and it's because the visible sign of fermentation is bubbles, just like the visible sign of boiling in liquids. So the bubbles are the first thing that you will observe. I will say that I get regular emails from people who are either concerned that they do see bubbles or concerned that they don't see bubbles. Sometimes the bubbling can be, kind of subtle. Other times you'll actually have foam forming on the top of it. Like, really just try not to worry. If you're working in something like a sealed jar, the production of carbon dioxide that those bubbles represent will, build up pressure. So it's important to manually release it by, opening the jar to release it. If you use, something like the Masontops top that has, its own ability to release the pressure, then you don't have to worry about that. So carbon dioxide bubbles is the first thing that you'll generally see. Then depending on what vegetables you're working with, you'll also see the color of the vegetable kind of slowly infusing into the brine. So colors will often meld. For instance, red cabbage, will typically just, make everything kind of a pink or red color, depending on what concentration of red cabbage you're using, rather than the cabbage just staying red and the other vegetables staying their colors. And then the bubbling will slow down. The heavy production of carbon dioxide is really characteristic of the early stages of fermentation, and then as the pH goes down and the environment becomes more acidic, it gives rise to more specialized bacterial strains that can tolerate higher acidity and also have much more limited fermentation byproducts, where they produce more and more lactic acid and less carbon dioxide. So as the fermentation goes further, you'll see less bubbling. In terms of texture, the vegetables will actually get, kind of crisper in the early stages of fermentation. In terms of flavor, if you want to taste it, which is something I really like to do as it's developing, you'll find that acidity slowly develops and the acidity accumulates over time. And, if you ferment things for 6 weeks, they're going to be much more acidic than fermenting them for 6 days. One of the reasons why I like to taste things as they're developing, and I encourage other people to do that also, is so you can evaluate the taste and decide when you think it's done. There's no, objective moment when a vegetable ferment is done, and that's really a matter of subjective judgment and taste. So, just bear in mind that the acidity, the sharpness, the tanginess builds over time. And so, if after a week you taste it and you think like, wow, this is really plenty sharp for me, I don't want it to get any sharper than this, well, you have a fermentation slowing device in your kitchen. That's what a refrigerator is. And just, move it into the refrigerator, and it doesn't stop fermentation, but it, really slows it down to an imperceptible rate.